Get a free legal review today. Call Sokolov Law at 1-800-972-3229. That number again, 1-800-972-3229, 1-800-972-3229. Call today, 1-800-972-3229.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com.
It is 8:38, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Jim Talamonte.
We have some big problems in northwest Indiana right now. Eastbound Indiana toll road traffic is being diverted off at 20 due to a closure. Crash between State Road 149 and State Road 49. So it's a long stretch here of delays and closures on the toll road. Then eastbound 94 has a closure from 20 in Porter to 421. There was a crash at State Road 49. There's still traffic in that area as well with closures in place. 8094 has westbound delays. Grant Kennedy Avenue, crash blocking the left lane. You see some mild delays on the inbound Eisenhower, Stevenson, and Ryan. That's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next in our 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center. A warm day, clouds and sunshine, high of 89. Just want to let you know, our friends to the south have been pounded by rain showers. 4.5 inches of rain this morning. Champaign, 73 at O'Hare. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas Coffee, a family tradition since 1897.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Have you started watching the Netflix series on Jeffrey Epstein? Hashtag Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Really?
I have watched the first 2 episodes. It's really interesting.
How many episodes are there?
I don't know, handful. Okay. I don't know. I can't remember. But the first episode, even the second episode, gives you a new appreciation for how long he was on law enforcement's radar locally, and how involved was the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein locally by Palm Beach police, and then how that investigation got derailed by his powerful friends. That's one fascinating part of the story, but there's certainly more, and somebody who's looked at it in much more detail than I have is Alana Goodman, who's a senior investigative reporter at the Washington Free Beacon, and author of the just-released A Convenient Death, The Mysterious Demise of Jeffrey Epstein. Alana, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So why don't we just start with the question that always comes with sort of these serial predators that get away with their predation for years and years and years. We talk about it with R. Kelly and of course, here in Chicago. There's a series on him, too, Surviving R. Kelly. And it's the same with Epstein, is how could he get away with what he was doing for so long with so many people having a good indication of what he was doing?
Yeah, it's shocking. And I think that a lot of that involves his very elite network of friends. So our book looks at 2 main issues. First, we investigate the very bizarre circumstances leading up to his death in prison and the questions about whether foul play could have been involved. And then second, we look at his very powerful political connections and connections in the finance and business worlds, including Bill Clinton, Donald Trump. He was very close with Victoria's Secret billionaire Leslie Wexner. And in Clinton's case, for example, we found that Epstein had a direct line to the president going back to when Clinton was in the White House in the 1990s. And one instance that we reported on, Clinton was at a party at Carolyn Kennedy's house on Martha's Vineyard, and the Secret Service came and told him, you got an important phone call, stepped out, and it was Jeffrey Epstein on the phone, and he took the call for 10 minutes and went back into the party. So Epstein had, they were close, and he had this direct line to him even when he was in the White House, although Clinton has downplayed his relationship with Epstein, obviously.
Well, what did Clinton tell Epstein about his affair with Monica Lewinsky?
Yeah, so Epstein was very fascinated by Clinton's affair with Monica Lewinsky, and he apparently wondered why Clinton would risk, put the presidency at risk to carry on an affair with her, because I guess Epstein didn't find her particularly attractive. So he asked Bill Clinton about this while Clinton was on riding on his plane one day, and Clinton told him, well, the government was shut down and she was the only girl in the White House, kind of, joking or making fun of her a little bit in a way that was kind of nasty. But this is something that Epstein would do with a lot of people, which is try to kind of draw out different salacious details about them, which then he would share with his other friends. In another instance of this, Epstein boasted that when he was on a trip to Asia with Bill Clinton, that he and Mick Jagger had tried to get him to go to, I guess, what was essentially like an orgy in Mick Jagger's hotel room, and Bill Clinton apparently was like, no, this is not my scene, after he walked into the room. But, Epstein bragged about this to other friends of his. So he just kind of wanted to promote this image of himself as someone who was getting dirt on these different powerful figures around him.
The way he's presented in the Netflix series is almost like he had like Jim Jones quality Svengali character. He was able to
people.
He was able to defraud Bear Stearns essentially, and by that I don't mean financially. I mean he lied about his resume. He lied about his education. It was discovered. There was obviously the move to immediately terminate him, but he was able to talk his way out of that, continue at Bear Stearns, and work his way up to making these relationships that allowed him to amass a massive fortune. And there was also even an indication that maybe he and that billionaire Wexner had a relationship.
Really?
I don't know if you picked up on that, but I mean and so again, just in terms of like the Jim Jones parallel that I'm trying to draw, that's how maybe that helps to explain how he was able to get away with it for so long, this hold he was able to develop over people.
Yeah, well, definitely we had heard that while we were reporting this book out, and we do touch on that issue in the book. I know that early on, after he met Wexner, the local authorities were very interested in this in Ohio, and they actually called Epstein. They would call Epstein Wexner's boyfriend or his gal Friday. But yeah, this was what Epstein did. I mean, he wanted to give people this impression that he was very mysterious, and even at some points that he might have been tied to foreign intelligence or domestic intelligence. He would make statements to friends like, back at Langley, they would say such and such to us, implying that he was involved with U.S. intelligence in some capacity. And he also had connections with foreign officials, including in the UK, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. One of his friends also said that his house in Palm Beach was wired up with security cameras, his house in New York was wired up with security cameras, including in the bathroom of the house.
Well, so this is what I'm getting at. Was part of his MO to gain information or do things to leverage people, maintain leverage over people?
Yeah, well, and intelligence sources I spoke to said that if he was providing information to governments, it was likely a one-way street, and they really doubted he would have been privy to any sort of important national security information, just given his background and lifestyle. But yeah, I think there was an element of he was connecting, or he would try to get information out of people that he might later use as leverage against them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about now? I'm convinced, I always have been, that he was murdered while he was in the MCC. But you have an exclusive interview with a former MCC prison guard, and what did they tell you?
Yeah, well, we found that while we still don't know what happened, we were not able to dismiss the idea of foul play outright. We talked to the prison guards who worked at MCC, and they said it would have been extremely difficult for him to kill himself in this way without outside help. We also talked to one of Epstein's lawyers, who described how Epstein was enthusiastically plotting his legal defense strategy in the hours before he died. And we talked to Epstein's brother, who had questions about various things on this. He said he's been stonewalled by authorities in trying to find out certain information about what happened. And so there are a lot of reasons to say this isn't a simple case, and there are legitimate questions about what happened that night.
Just in terms of stopping him earlier in his long-running predation of young women, two questions. One is, why has his girl Friday, Ghislaine Maxwell, not been brought into custody with everything they know, certainly as presented in the Netflix documentary? I assume authorities have that same information, if not more. And secondly, what is your assessment of the job local police did trying to investigate and bring him to justice? Because they're presented in a fairly positive light in that Netflix series. And I just want to get your sense of whether that's accurate or not, that they did their job at that level and they were derailed by Jeffrey Epstein's powerful friends.
Yeah, I think that is my impression as well. I think that the local police were very intent on investigating this thoroughly, and they were very disappointed in what ultimately happened, where he was able to get this very cushy, not even really jail. It was, sources told me it was more of like this private area of prison that he was in, and he was able to get work release, and it was just a very light sentence. On Ghislaine Maxwell, it's very interesting because we were told that Clinton's primary motive for hanging around Epstein was that he was having an affair with Ghislaine Maxwell, and she was, of course, Epstein's on and off girlfriend who has been accused of helping him procure underage girls. So that that's something that definitely could have been used by Epstein as leverage.
And so why isn't she in custody?
It's a good question, and I mean my impression on this is it was a very sensitive thing to have to, if she's in another country, to have to expedite her to the United States if they don't think that they can prevail in a case against her. And I will mention, Jeffrey Epstein's legal team, they thought they had a solid case. They thought that they had a very good chance of being victorious in this. And so this wasn't, you look at the evidence against him, and it's just so enormous. But he did sign this. He did go and enter this agreement with the state attorney in Florida, a non-prosecution agreement for future things. They thought that his lawyers thought he might be able to get out of it on that, and they had various other legal strategies as well. So they were very confident, and that could be the same situation for Ghislaine Maxwell as well.
And then before we let you go, I just wanted to ask one more question about his relationship with Trump and why he was kicked out of that beauty pageant.
Yeah, so we found that Epstein and Trump had a close relationship as well. And at one point, Trump organized a party for beauty pageant contestants at Mar-a-Lago, and Epstein was the featured male guest, according to the pageant director. The pageant director told us that he was very angry about this because he had previously banned Epstein from his events because Epstein had come onto the girls, asked them for explicit pictures, things like that. And some of these girls were as young as 15 years old who were participating in this pageant. We were told that Trump eventually did cut ties with Epstein when he found out that he tried to solicit the daughter of a Mar-a-Lago member. So this was before Epstein's first arrest.
And with respect to the death investigation, where does that stand? Is there any time horizon on when more information will be forthcoming or a final report on what people believe to happened?
Well, the two prison guards are currently awaiting a trial on this, and that has been pushed to January. And that's for they're accused of submitting false information on their timesheets and things like that. I think that we need more information and transparency from the Department of Justice and from the New York Medical Examiner's Office. They should release full video evidence to the extent that it's available and full medical evidence so that we can have a complete accounting of what happens that night.
She is Alana Goodman, senior investigative reporter at the Washington Free Beacon and author of A Convenient Death, The Mysterious Demise of Jeffrey Epstein. Alana, thanks for joining us. Good luck with the book.
Thanks.
Thanks. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show. More Chicago radio.